Hello again, and welcome back to Julie's Jewels. I am Mike Turner, and I'm here with, you guessed it, your very own Jules herself, Julie Fingar. How you doing?
Doing amazing. How are you?
I'm doing great, loving it, loving it. So we have been talking about injuries. We did a couple parts. We talked about injury prevention, then we did another series talking about, well, when you're in an injury, what do you do? Then we're going to get into the end of that where you're recovering, you're almost recovered, and you want to get back into running. So first of all, sanity. You know, when you're trying to not run, how do you stay sane with, when you're not doing all the miles?
Yeah, it's hard. You have to accept that it's just going to be hard. It's going to be challenging. But here's the thing, and we said this, a time ago, that everybody's going to experience an injury and everybody has gone through it. So there's a whole network of your running friends and your community that have experienced this. So lean on them, talk to them about what they might have done, during an injury, and some tips from them really can be helpful. And I think it's important just to stay really focused and committed to what you can do versus what you can't do. And really, that takes some discipline, but if you can do that, you kind of take the path of least resistance.
Good tips. Yeah, I find that it's like even after a race, the week after a long race, you're like sitting at home, you're like, what am I supposed to do? And then, but you got family, you may have kids, you can have old friends, you can go out, just be a normal human for like a week or two.
Yeah.
So let's get into, when do you resume running? At what point do you know the injury's done enough, or you think you can start running?
Yeah, this is again is a tricky fine line to determine when you should get back out there and how much volume you should do. And if you are seeing a professional, a physical therapist, or trainer, coach, you should definitely consult with he or she and see what their opinion is. But you should start back very conservative, and that's super hard again for especially ultra athletes, or just athletes in general. And start with time, minutes versus miles. Okay, so like starting out with like 5 minutes of running or jogging, and splicing some walking in there, and then 2 days later you add a few more minutes, maybe working up to 10 minutes, and kind of go from there. But you're really taking it nice and slow for the first 1, 2, 3 weeks, depending upon the injury, but building minutes and building time versus miles.
Yeah, because I guess it's like a taper. You're tapering back into it, because worst thing that can happen is that you start too much too fast, and then it gets inflamed again.
Yeah, so if you overload and you've just gone through the whole strengthening process and getting this injury happy again, and then if you go out there and overload it, you will be back to square one, and it will be even harder to come back.
Yeah, that's the worst. If you're going to take the time off 3 weeks or 6 weeks, then don't turn it into 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Finish it up, do it right. Listen to your doctor, listen to your trainer. Any cross training in that ramp up?
Yeah, I again, biking, swimming, aqua jogging is great. Doing some yoga, doing maybe a different sport than what you normally have done. Pickleball, just whatever is kind of catches your fancy, but that can keep you, fit and motivated, and again, enjoying what you're doing.
Those are good tips. One bonus question, last question, bonus question here. So you have 6 weeks to your race, 5 weeks to your A race of the year. You've been training for 6 weeks. You get an injury, you have to choose between stopping running early and losing your fitness, or recovery. What do you do in this situation?
Freak out first. Let's be real, let's be honest. I mean, that is like the emotion that first kind of like comes out, like, oh my gosh, this wasn't part of my plan, and like I don't know what to do. And I think that again, you have to know what your end goal is, and what's your why, how important it is to you, and all those kinds of things. And it really, again, I think it creates a discipline to then kind of come back to how you need to go about this. And hopefully most injuries, if it doesn't happen towards the later part of training, you have to look back and see how much you've already accumulated in your training block. And that should give you confidence that, okay, well, I may not have done exactly what I had planned to do, but maybe I did do enough, and I'll have to be creative about how I can stay, how I can keep my fitness up and how I can keep myself, in shape the rest of the time to get to my race. And it's always better to go in a little undertrained than overcooked. If you're overcooked and burnt out, like, that is no way to do that. You are not going to perform at your best. And if you're just, a little bit undertrained but full of energy and excitement, you're gonna really have a great performance and really show yourself that the theory of less is more. Not saying don't train, but yes.
Good tips. Those are good tips. Well, that's it we have for now. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.